So, Valve has announced the new Steam machine, and a lot of people out there seem to be just kind of losing their minds about this thing. And I think because I've seen so many people just, really just going crazy for this release, that I wanted to just, I don't know, pump the brakes a little bit on the hype because I have some doubts about the viability of this product, and I'm not saying that it's a guaranteed, oh, this thing's going to flop, but I think there's going to be some real sensitivity to pricing on this box. And it comes down to the competition in the market and what the Steam machine actually is. Basically, this is a small form factor computer with dedicated graphics rather than just being an APU or an iGPU kind of situation. And, they've done a good job with the engineering, I think, putting everything in a nice tight package. But whenever you start looking into the actual hardware here, you see that the CPU is a 6-core, 12-thread AMD part, 30-watt TDP, and the GPU is an RDNA 3 GPU, and again, up to 110 watts. It's got 16 gigabytes of system RAM and 8 gigabytes of VRAM. And that means this is not a high-end computer. It's a pretty low-end computer. I mean, some other channels have really gotten into this. So if you watch like the Gamers Nexus video or Moore's Law is Dead, basically these are going to be mobile chips, essentially. And they're not the newest gen. They're kind of old gen mobile chips. So Moore's Law is Dead went through and looked at the actual architecture of the CPU that they're using, and he thinks it's similar to an AMD Ryzen 5 220 that may be downclocked a little bit, maybe has the iGPU disabled on it. And again, this is basically a mobile part, right? It's laptops and lightweight desktops is basically what this thing is for. And similarly, the GPU looks to be something along the lines of like a RX 7600M, which is a mobile GPU that AMD makes. And it's not the brand new stuff. This is like a 3-year-old GPU. And whenever you look at it in that context, the Steam machine is going to probably be a little less powerful than a PlayStation 5. Now, this is obviously not directly comparable because there's different generations here, but the PlayStation 5 uses an 8-core CPU. It's Zen 2, and again, you got different generations here, and a different GPU, but if you actually look, the GPU has more compute units on the PlayStation 5. And so again, all this kind of points to, basically the Steam machine is a mini PC with better graphics. That's kind of what it's gonna be. It's not gonna be a powerhouse. It's not going to be comparable to most desktop computers. It's not going to be upgradable for the most part. Like, you're not going to be able to put a different graphics card in it. Now, from what I've seen, the RAM is upgradable, so I think maybe you could add more RAM than the base 16 gigabytes if that's what you wanted. Now, the video card only having 8 gigabytes of RAM, that's a little low, I think. I think a lot of people these days with modern games, you want to see more of a 12 to 16 gigabytes of RAM, but RAM's gotten super expensive, so I don't know. Also, given the power level of this GPU, the graphics may not be capable of pushing high enough resolutions to actually use more RAM. It just may be processing power limited, and so that may just be a trade-off there of, using this kind of semi-custom GPU that they've got just may not be powerful enough to warrant more video RAM. So with this overall, I think pricing really comes into play because whenever you look at this, it's a mini PC, and mini PCs can be pretty cheap. You can get really expensive ones if you want the really cutting edge, powerful stuff. So to me, when I look at it, it's like, why would I buy the Steam machine as a gaming console? And that is, of course, to play video games. And here's one of the trade-offs with it being a generic computer. Because the PlayStation 5 runs PlayStation games, and a lot of those are exclusive. And if you want to play PlayStation games, some of those you can only play on the PlayStation. This was one of the Achilles heels of the Xbox, is that the Xbox, basically every game was also going to be available on a computer, and computers are very flexible, and if I'm going to be spending my money, well, it might make sense to buy just a regular computer that can also play all the Xbox games rather than buying an Xbox. But a PlayStation didn't fall under the same kind of criticism PlayStation's justified, oh, well, you need a PlayStation because this particular game might never go to a PC, or if it does, it might be 2 or 3 years until it gets ported to a PC. Well, the Steam machine has exactly the same problem as the Xbox. This thing will play games that are also able to be played on a regular computer, but it won't be able to play them extremely well. It's not even going to be as powerful as a PlayStation 5. So why would I buy this instead of just buying a regular computer? So whenever you're a consumer out there in your shop and thinking, oh, I want a gaming console, and you're looking around and the PlayStations are in that $500, $600 range, and you're thinking, well, this also gives me access to all the PlayStation exclusives, and most PC games are available on PlayStation. Why would I buy just a regular PC? That really comes into play in. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I don't know. You know, it might be a good fit for a purely home theater system kind of oriented game console, sure. And this is why I say it really does come down to the pricing. If they can get the pricing under $500 on this, I think it's got a chance. I think if it's more than $500, that's going to be really tough, because once you cross over $500, you're getting into low-end gaming PCs that you can build yourself that are going to be more upgradable and probably more powerful than this. And that's a tough sell to me because, again, this thing does not offer a unique platform. You're going to be able to run any game that it can play on a regular computer. Now, of course, it's a Steam-oriented system, and so it's going to be, you know, pretty well sorted as far as the hardware is all going to work together. It's going to be optimized, and yes, you're going to have Steam OS, but again, I'm not sure that the hype I've seen for Steam OS is warranted. It's basically Arch, and you can do everything that you're going to be able to do on SteamOS on a regular computer also. So to me, it's a tough sell with this thing. I'm worried that people are thinking this is going to be something that it's not. It's not going to be that powerful, and it's going to come down to, can they keep the price down on this thing? Now, again, watching some of the other videos, there's speculation that they're using these older parts because they got them very, very cheaply, because AMD was basically blowing them out, being like, hey, yeah, let's just get rid of these. And so maybe Valve got a really good deal, and they will be able to price this thing extremely aggressively. I certainly think that it's cool that Valve is doing this, and I hope it works out, because I appreciate a lot of what Valve's done to make gaming on Linux platforms much easier to do with their work on Proton. But I'm not sure about the hardware and the pricing that they're going to offer here, and I think that really comes into play. I've seen people speculating that this thing could cost $800, and at $800, I just feel it's going to flop. I don't know why you would buy this thing for $800. Now, again, once you get under $500, maybe it's got a chance and it could find a market, but it's really going to come down to what they price this thing at. Now, if they come in and they price this thing sub $400, all of a sudden, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a pretty good buy at that point. But you're competing against many PCs here, and it really comes down into that value proposition, because it's just not that powerful of a computer to warrant a really high price. And the limited upgrade path is also an issue. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. And again, I just wanted to put this out there because I've been kind of seeing a lot of people going crazy about this announcement, thinking, oh, this is huge. And I'm like, I don't know, man. That's going to be tough. They're entering a very competitive, tough market. The other thing that I would say that I have a concern with, if they put this thing out there, what happens when clones show up? Because you're going to have like GMK Tech and Minis Forum and all these, B-Link clones that come out that are going to be targeting this box, and those manufacturers are likely going to have a big cost advantage simply because, I mean, they're not Steam. Now, again, whether or not Steam views this as a box that they can sell below cost, and then, oh, you're going to buy games through the Steam platform, and that's how they're going to make their money on this thing. Maybe they just sell this thing at cost, and their whole play is to make it up through the Steam marketplace. But you got to be really careful about that, simply because of monopoly issues and competitiveness. Does the FTC view that as okay that you're selling your hardware for cost or less than cost, and everybody competing with you has to sell theirs with a profit built in? That can be a real kind of problem from an antitrust situation. So I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens, but that's why I'm a bit skeptical, but I'm hopeful. Hopefully this goes well. Anyway, I'm going to stop there before I just keep ranting forever. If you got any feedback, comments, you think I'm just dumb, feel free to leave a comment down below. Otherwise, I appreciate your time.